Steinkut, how are you doing, my friend? Steinkut, I hope I said that correctly. So guys, we are obviously doing a sale you guys should be aware of. 75% off on the website, every single Panzer Corps DLC, game, everything. I mean, this is a perfect opportunity to head over to the site and get Panzer Corps now, especially if those of you who have been thinking about getting it for a long time and never actually followed through. This is probably a good time to go ahead and do that. So we're going to be doing something a little bit different today. I'm going for one of the alternative history scenarios, which is the German invasion of the U.S. East Coast. This is certainly not going to be an easy mission by any means, but I like to think that we can do a pretty good job as Germany. And we could also play as the Allies. Now, because I am pretty good at this game, I like to think, but I'm going to go with Lieutenant because this is a very hard battle. No, you know what? We'll go with Colonel. Let's try to keep a little bit of difficulty level here, and we're going to go ahead and play the German invasion of the U.S. East Coast. So I want to make sure that everything's coming out just fine on XSplit. We've had some issues before, so I'm going to go ahead and try to grab this screen again. I do apologize for that. We're going to do our absolute best. As you know, for some reason, XSplit doesn't capture this game. So when we do screen caps, we've got to actually capture the screen little by little. And I hope you guys understand the frustration involved in that, but we're going to go ahead and see if this works. So as you can see, we are playing as the Germans, going straight for, of course, the wonderful invasion of USA. Well, I don't know if it's so wonderful. Great choice for a demo. Thanks, everything fine. Very cool, J-Railers. And it looks like we're all here, so we're going to start, guys. So obviously, this is probably one of those invasions that, quite frankly, I think, just like the American invasion of Japan, probably could have never happened. And if it did, it would have been extremely difficult to accomplish. Now, we are going to, of course, be heading towards New York itself. And we're going to be heading towards Washington, D.C. over here on the coast. And we can see that the Americans have a whole lot over here in terms of defenses. They've got some heavy weapons teams waiting for us, just waiting to destroy us. I think first thing we need to do is try to take out some of these naval defenses that the Americans have set up. So let's go ahead and open fire. It looks like we're getting some pretty good shots so far. I'm going to bring up our 34th Light Cruiser and open fire over here. In fact, I don't even need to get very close to make that work. But I do want to try and eliminate all of the enemy naval vessels in the area, and I think that's going to make our invasion a lot easier. So let's move over here. We don't want to get too close to the coast because then the infantry could attack, and we're going to go ahead and blow up some American ships. So, of course, we'll start moving all of our men here. There's a lot of radar stations. I don't really like these radar stations, and I think that our new prototype bombers are going to do a great job here. So we're going to take the ME-410A and see if we can start bombing these areas. And we've got to start taking the enemy airfields pretty quickly because obviously our planes are going to need fuel eventually. They're going to run out if we don't move quickly. So I'm going to be moving this Panther A up and the rest of these landing craft as well. We're also going to take our bombers and we're just going to start hitting all of the enemy radar defenses here. So the DO-335A, again, you military grognards will have to let me know, but I'm pretty sure that these are prototype planes. I don't think they ever actually came out, but who knows? Had Germany succeeded in getting to 1946 and D-Day had never happened, could this be a possibility? I'm not so sure. I still think that the Germans probably would have been crushed by the Russians. Nonetheless, this would be an interesting situation no matter how you put it. So we're going to also take our HE-162, and I'm going to start hitting some cities here. We'll start hitting Philadelphia. Now, you can see that Philadelphia is not actually one of our objectives the way that New York and Washington, D.C. are. But nonetheless, we're still going to try and do as much damage as possible. So obviously, we're going to have to bring in these ships little by little. We can't just all of a sudden drop them wherever we feel like it. You know, these convoy ships are going to take a while to actually touch down. And in the meantime, we probably want to get rid of any possible enemy threats in the sea. So let's go ahead. We're going to bring this wonderful 44th U-boat. He's going to be at his position pretty soon. And we're going to start opening fire here on the destroyers that the Americans have. So here we go. I'm also going to bring down my light cruiser as well as my 45th destroyer here. Just going to keep opening up on the enemy. And I don't want them to get to my my supply ships or my my landing craft, because if they do, it's going to spell trouble for us pretty simply and very quickly. So let's keep on moving here. And of course, for those of you that are just now arriving, this is the invasion of the United States. It never occurred. Of course it didn't. But could it have occurred? Maybe. Actually, it would be a cool thing for you guys to discuss in the comments. I think that strategically it would have been impossible unless Germany had some sort of super weapon a la, man in the high castle sort of thing. So let's keep on moving, and of course getting these ships closer and closer to shore. So I'm going to try to go all along the northeast coast. We have a lot of places we could take. We've obviously got to take Putney, which I'm an American. I don't know where Putney is. And Chattanooga, of course, Tennessee. A lot of different areas here. Fort Knox, Kentucky. I mean, yes, these are serious areas that are going to take a lot to take over. Now, thankfully, we've got the Graf Zeppelin. Some of you guys may know this beautiful carrier from Order of Battle. And actually, the Graf Zeppelin was a real German carrier, but it was bombed by the British, who actually managed to damage it in port before it could ever really become seaworthy and do any actual damage. Now, all things considered, it wasn't exactly the greatest aircraft carrier in the world, but we all know the Germans weren't really known for their naval skill. They didn't exactly have the greatest aircraft carriers. During World War I, that was a little different, but during World War II, the German Navy was probably the weakest of all of the German military forces. In fact, one of my friends who works with the Order of Battle team said that the German Navy couldn't fight its way out of a paper bag, and that's probably true. Nonetheless, we're going to try to make this happen, and the only way we're going to make it happen is by, of course, trying to damage the infantry defending the coast, and obviously trying to take them out little by little. Let's take a look here. The Russians had them taken care of. Doesn't matter, though. What ifs are still cool, says Mithanandir, indeed. So once again, I do want to remind you guys, if you guys head to the Slytherin site, you can pick up the game right now for 75% off. This is probably one of the best deals we've ever had. You're not going to find this on Steam. This is not a Steam thing. You have to go to the Slytherin site and actually purchase the game there. Yes, there are downloadable copies. You can also purchase a boxed copy, which, honestly, one of the great things about our company here at Slytherin is we are one of the few gaming companies that still provides boxed copies of our games. There are a few out there, but we are one of the few. So I like to think that that's definitely something that at least some of you, maybe even those of you that already have the game, probably want to get your hands on. Let's keep moving in some bombers. Now I'm going to take a risk here, and I'm going to go to Washington, D.C. I'm almost certain it's going to be defended, but look at that. It doesn't look like the Americans have much to defend here. There's a lot of infantry units, but the Army is definitely suffering. There's no doubt about that. Okay, let's keep moving. And we will keep moving forward with our battleships as well. There's just so many units on this map. It would also be a really fun battle to play as the Americans, and that's the great thing about Panzer Corps. You can play with the scenarios as both sides, and you can also play campaigns as both sides as long as you get the Allied Corps DLC, which I highly recommend. Any fans of the Allies, get the Allied Corps DLC. If you're looking for the Comintern, the USSR, the Soviet Union, the Eastern Allies, I guess we could call them in this case, you should definitely go ahead and get the Soviet Corps DLC, and each DLC comes with its own set of scenarios, which I think is a really great bargain. You're not just going to be getting one set of scenarios, you're going to be getting a set of scenarios for each different game you buy, as well as the campaign itself. And yes, the units do obviously level up during the campaign, etc. Assuming perfect logistics, let's see, the invasion would be in Germany's Vietnam. Nearly impossible to win with such a long and exposed supply line. Whatever the fighting power, logistics would determine the outcome, says Jay Rowlers. But assuming perfect logistics, this is a nice scenario to play. Got the game and all the DLCs, it's fun. Good to hear it, Mythorn. I'm really happy to hear that, man. So once again, I was telling you guys earlier, I'm going to try to do a 1 hour and a half stream today, which is the longest stream we've done on Slytherin, at least in a while. I think we did a Napoleonic Warfare stream when I was not working here, and it was 6 hours long. I don't know how the guys did it, but obviously if you guys keep supporting these streams and keep showing up, we're going to make sure to do some longer streams if that's what you guys want. So I'm ending the turn now, turning it over to the Americans. And actually, they've got some pretty good naval power here. You can see some battleships. They're already decimating our Navy. Like I said, the German Navy could not fight its way out of a paper bag, and that's becoming evident right here. The important thing is to get our land forces on land before our entire Navy is destroyed. You can see here in the south, we are being utterly crushed by American battleships and heavy cruisers, and I don't think we're going to last very long, at least on the open ocean. Okay, here we go. Look at that. We've already got American destroyers attacking our landing craft. So So I guess the goal here is to get as much of this landing craft on land as quickly as possible. That's not always the easiest thing, especially since once we, occupy one hex on the coast, we can't actually occupy that hex until the next turn with our other landing craft. So we'll see how it goes, but I'm not expecting a lot. And just look at that German attack. That American attack, just crushing our poor landing craft. Please don't kill us so much, Americanas. But they're doing a very good job here. Okay, we've got some, oh my goodness, they're even hitting our battleships here with their submarines. And we've got some fighters and bombers coming in to finish off what's left of our supply convoys and our landing craft. So here we go. I can now understand why on this scenario there aren't as many American land units, because actually tackling the Americans on land here would be extremely difficult, and the game is certainly going to make us very aware of that, and it's going to be very apparent throughout the battle. So it is our turn now, Axis turn, of course, and I want to take a look here. Not the landing craft. I see somebody said Order of Battle isn't as good. It's really, we have people that like both games. But yeah, we've got people that like Order of Battle and people that love, of course, Panzer Corps. So for those of you, yeah, sound is fine for me too, Rambo. I want new DLC for Armageddon and Panzer Corps and a new pike and shot. Oh, we'll see how it goes. Obviously, be patient. You never know what's going to happen. I can't really say anything now, but please do be patient. And who knows? You may get your wish sooner rather than later. We're going to go ahead and keep moving. And I'm going to start dropping off some units. So actually, this Vespa, it's great for artillery bombardments. Not exactly that great at attacking land targets unless it has some support. And we just dropped a Tiger II over here. We're going to be dropping a Jagdpanther right there. I'm going to actually leave this landing craft here. I want the enemy to focus on it and destroy it. Sort of a sacrificial lamb, if you will. And I want to start getting some infantry units out. So we'll start dropping more of our Panthers, etc., all these units, but we've got to start getting more of our supply boats over here on the coast as quickly as possible to take on the Americana. Let's grab this guy. We'll move him in here. We know that those Americans are going to be showing up very quickly with their Navy, and once the Navy gets here, we're in a lot of trouble. We do need to try and put up a fight against their Navy, but I'm not so sure we're going to be that successful. Let's see what happens when you put a U-boat against a U-boat. I can imagine it's not going to be very pretty. What I want is to get a destroyer, move them over here, and attack the enemy U-boats, or in this case, the enemy submarines. Now, they actually evaded our attack, which is a little more than frustrating, but let's try to open fire on their destroyers. Maybe our Navy, our Kriegsmarine, still has a fighting chance here. Okay, here we go. Let's go open fire on the radar. Maybe. I think I'd rather go ahead and open fire on these ships over here and start sinking some American destroyers. Let's bring in the battleship as well. And we'll open fire on that light cruiser. Now, in any other situation, I would get the hell out of here with the destroyer, but that submarine is still there, and it's going to cause us a massive headache if we don't take it out, or at least try to take it out. And let's also bring this U-boat to the south. Now, these boys are going to have to wait before they disembark, but we're going to keep on moving our guys up close and personal to try and drop them off. Now, of course, our men are not going to be able to move for one turn while they're landing. And while we're at it, I'm going to go ahead and take some of my fighter planes, see if I can't try to hit some of their fighters, although it looks like they've definitely outmatched us in terms of air power, air supremacy. Yeah, it's going to be a nasty fight. However, if they've got some bombers here, let's go for them. Oh my goodness. So, of course, the bomber has a escort with him, and they just completely wiped out our poor men. So what I'm going to do is try and destroy these radar stations. Obviously, those radar stations are going to make us a lot more visible to the enemy, also allowing the enemy, ships to see us before they actually spot us, quite openly. So I'm also going to move this SDKFZ over here into New York Harbor, and I'm hoping we can at the very least, scare the hell out of the Allies. But let's keep moving forward and trying to damage the enemy. We're going to keep moving these battleships to the south because, once again, we've got to put up a fight against the enemy ships, or we're going to be destroyed very quickly. It looks like we still have one guy here willing to sacrifice his life, and I think I'm going to go straight for this light cruiser. The Kriegsmarine will not surrender so easily, Americana. Here we go. All right, nice. So we do have this heavy cruiser that could probably do some damage. I'm going to actually move him over here and try to take that radar out, not just because it's a danger, but also because taking that radar out will allow another one of our units to land very close, and I think that that's probably something that's quite important in this scenario. We're also going to move the Graf Zeppelin up in case our planes need refueling, etc. And let's take a look here. Hello, Party Commissar. The American ion cannon there is fun. Was Kriegsmaschine on sale? It was on sale. It's no longer on sale. Right now, though, what we're doing is we've got a massive sale on the Slytherin store of Panzer Corps and every single one of the DLCs for 75% off. I mean, you can't beat that deal. You guys definitely want to try to pick it up as soon as possible. All right, we're going to end our turn once again, friends, and hope for the best. Really worried about those American Navy vessels to the south, but what can we do? There we go. The enemy battleships are approaching, and they are extremely angry at us. My goodness, look at that. That is superior American naval firepower at work, wiping out our landing craft, wiping out our destroyers. And of course, I'm glad we had that sacrificial lamb unit there because now the destroyer didn't attack one of our let's say, better equipped units, but those bombers are doing a ton of damage, and those are massive bombers. Are those B-52s? They could be. Maybe even something deadlier than a B-52. Again, there are a lot of alternative history vehicles in this particular battle, and I really love them. So there we go. They're already hitting our poor bombers. It's going to be pretty hard to get out of this mess. Oh, I think he's going down. C'est poor Hinkel. The enemy definitely has superior aircraft, and I don't think we're going to win this battle with aircraft. We're going to have to win this battle with land units. That's the only way. So we've got to keep getting those guys on the beaches, out of the water, because right now we're sitting ducks. And look at that. Even the coastal guns have tremendous power here. Sure enough, they just wasted another one of our poor little units. Return fire. I think that's a Wolverine or some sort of enemy tank. They've certainly got some armor here, but we've got plenty of armor ourselves. So let's keep moving, guys. Of course, the goals here are to take Washington, D.C. Open fire with the Tiger. Oh, look at that. Utter devastation. I'm going to go ahead and drop these boys off in New York Harbor, or actually the New York Airfield, the STKFZ. And we'll drop these boys to the north over here. So we've got some actual heavy machine gun units, which is going to help us tremendously, I believe. And let's start taking out these coastal guns. Again, I'm liberating these airfields. It'll make it a lot easier for our men to land and refuel, especially our planes. Now, we do have that awesome Graf Zeppelin, which can also house planes. Pretty rare for a German carrier, actually. Not many of them, but nonetheless, we're going to try to make this work. So we're going to use this tiny little area here, I think, to make our major assault. We've got the Pioneer infantry, and I'm actually going to drop them off here, although I know better, because honestly, that tank is going to be a problem. We're going to keep moving forward here. Keep dropping off tanks. Open fire here. And once again, we're just trying to liberate this airfield as quickly as we can. Let's go ahead and drop another unit over here, some German infantry. That's what I like to see. Unfortunately, we've got some American tanks right there, excuse me, American destroyer right there, and that's going to be a problem. So I'm going to see if I can bring back one of my bombers, do some damage to the destroyer, although it looks like their plane is going to do some very, very, very heavy damage to us. So let's see if we can take out the plane with this new Messerschmitt, new and improved Messerschmitt fighter. And it does look like he's getting the hell out of here. Probably a good choice on his part. Let's also go ahead and continue bombing this destroyer. I think the more damage we do to it, obviously the less damage our landing craft is going to take. But overall, we've got to get off these beaches, and quickly, my friends. Weren't they just a really good band, says Nebelwerfer? Okay, keep on moving forward. So New York should be easy to take once we get ourselves prepared here. I think we could take the city of New York. Just imagine the city of New York under German rule. That would be pretty crazy. I am going to keep trying to take out this radar station under any circumstances, because once again, if we can take out that radar station, we can land another landing craft, and That right now is the main issue. We've got to try to get these boys to drop on the land quickly, but it looks like we're missing a lot of our shots, and that's not making me feel good at all. Let's go ahead and try to take out another American light cruiser, try to stop the inevitable, and the inevitable in this case is, of course, the enemy managing to utterly destroy all of our landing craft if we keep them in the water long enough. Let's see. Open fire. It looks like our battleships are still pretty damn good. Let's actually lower the music and the sound a little bit here. I hope you guys don't mind. The sound or the music is a little high for me, just a tiny bit. And trying to move into an area where enemies can't get into. Obviously, if we block this area off with battleships, etc., at least the enemy submarines and other craft aren't going to be able to make it into this area. So that's definitely something to look forward to. In the meantime, though, we must continue our attack. And there we go. We took out the coastal gun. Didn't really need to. I mean, that thing was pretty destroyed, but we're going to keep moving inland with our Tiger tanks. I wonder what the American news would be saying about this situation. This would not be a good situation, obviously. Okay, let's see. And this battleship, this admiral of this heavy cruiser, actually, it's not a battleship, it's a heavy cruiser. This is a battleship. That heavy cruiser is going to risk his life to try and stop the enemy from reaching our infantry units. Obviously, without these infantry units, there's no way we can win the scenario. It's just not going to happen. What are those tanks? Well, these are Jagdpanzers, and these are Tiger IIs. If you're talking about the American tanks, these are Hellcats. So nice, beautiful tank. Very capable of destroying our tanks with little difficulty. Of course, not necessarily the Tigers, but every single one of our other tanks, they can do a lot of damage here. So despite this being a pretty damaged unit, the Wurfhammer, I think that's the Wolfhammer, if I'm not mistaken, is of course moving up. And maybe we'll move some more boys in here, try and make that landing work. Of course, if I can, I'm going to bring some of my fighters out and take on these Americans. But I think the best thing that our fighters can do right now is try and go after maybe the American bombers, even though we're not going to get the best hit on them. Trying to minimize the damage that they're going to do is really going to help. And I actually want to see what this is. I do believe it is a B-52, but it's a B-29. So I think actually a B-52 might be larger. Once again, you military grognards can let me know in the comments down below. I am going to move this unit up north because I'm hoping that this destroyer is just going to forget about me, casually forget about me, and ignore my landing craft. And I think that's pretty much all we can do for now. So we will end the turn and turn it over to the Americanos. Let's go ahead and end the turn. Don't forget, guys, once again, that there is a sale on the Slytherin channel, 75% off Panzer Corps and all its associated DLCs. And look at that. Despite us trying to protect our landing craft, those American battleships are going to get close enough to probably take out some more of them, making our jobs a lot harder. As many people have said in the beginning of the stream, I mean, this would have been a nearly impossible invasion by the Germans. It just wouldn't have happened, I don't think. I think it would have been extremely difficult to actually have this occur. Let's go ahead and open fire. Beautiful. At least our battleship is still putting up a good fight. But now they're going for our U-boats. We can't have that with the destroyers. And they're getting very close to where we've landed. Although it's going to be too late once we get all of our guys off these landing craft and continue to attack their major cities. Of course, Washington, D.C., Fort Knox, Kentucky, and New York City, three major areas we need to take. I believe we also have to take Charleston, North Carolina. We'll take a look again. But we definitely have a lot of land here that we need to do something about. Another interesting thing is this scenario is one of the extra scenarios in the game, in the regular game of Panzer Corps that you could play. You can also play U.S. West, where essentially the Germans have already conquered all of the eastern United States and they're moving west towards the Rockies. Really, really tough fight, but obviously you've got those Rocky Mountains to defend with. And in this case, we decided to take the Germans for the sake of difficulty. I think an amphibious assault is, for me, always more difficult than a defense from an amphibious assault. So let's move forward with our Tiger tank here. Ooh, crushing those Hellcats. Let's even get a shot off on this guy. We probably could. But I'd actually rather take out... No, I wouldn't rather take out the radar station. Let's open fire. Unlikely we're going to get a hit there, but maybe we could take out this Hellcat with our engineering team. Firemen. It's a start. It's a start. We're going to keep moving forward. It looks like the Americans are already starting to run out of ammunition here. And we're going to send these guys to Washington, D.C. So we're going north of D.C. here. Open fire. Obviously, taking the capital would be a major, major victory for us. We're going to attack with our heavy machine gun team. And these are U.S. engineers. U.S. Army engineers. Same men that my dad fought for. Pretty awesome stuff. Rugged defense. So they're going to be able to hold out against Tiger tanks. And for those of you that don't already know this, it's pretty hard in an urban situation to use tanks properly. You know, you've got to be extremely careful. They're very easy to sneak up on in an urban situation. So I'm actually not too surprised by that outcome. But we've still got some enemies in Philadelphia. Now, the fighting going on right now is so brutal. It really is. And I think to get a victory, we are really going to have to put everything into this fight. Let's open fire here and at least take PA. I don't think taking Philadelphia is a huge deal, but it's one step closer to New York. That's all I care about. So there we go. Philadelphia is now in German control. Give me, please, a Philly cheesesteak for sauerkraut immediately. It's looking delicious. All right, let's go ahead and open fire. And I think we can take New York City if we play our cards right. And yes, we just did. Let's go ahead and drop our units there. And actually, that's an artillery unit, so we're going to have to wait till next turn to take New York City. A little frustrated about that, but what can you do? Okay, let's move into New York Harbor. It's now ours. And we'll keep moving with our STKFZs. Not only are they great fighting on land, but they also make excellent, and I mean excellent, anti-infantry vehicles and scouts. So really decent armored car there. Not the greatest, but it'll do. Let's go ahead and drop some more men off. More infantry. Okay, let's attack with the Panzer 4J. It looks like it's going to actually require another attack to take that thing out, unless our fighter can waste him. Although I'd rather our fighter go after the enemy B-29. So let's do that. Beautiful. Just wasting those B-29s. And right now, the eastern U.S. is a total battleground. Open fire with the Tiger, and I think we can go ahead and take that airfield. In fact, I'm going to use this damaged landing craft to take it, and we could probably get some supplies for this Jagd Tiger as we continue to move towards Washington, D.C., and, of course, New York. Okay, let's see. Finish off those bombers. And they're going to go crashing right into the water in that tiny little area. So Sal was asking, does it have multiplayer? And yes, somebody answered that question. I appreciate it. And hi, Alka Influence. Bolshanov. Got a lot of people here. Why don't some use bombers against enemy navy? Many bombers have high naval attack. Mainly because even if we did, I don't think that we would kill enough of them to stop their advance. You know, right now, it's all about getting our troops on land as quickly as possible. And right now, I think we've actually moved every single one of our troops, at least our landing craft troops, off the ocean and onto land. So at this point, I think it's really going to come down to maybe some naval battles where they destroy our navy utterly. And we can definitely damage their navy a lot, but I think they're going to win ultimately. They've got more ships. It's just that simple. They've got stronger ships, but on land, things could go very differently. Let's go ahead and try to damage these destroyers. And there we go. We got another kill on a destroyer. We still got some men willing to fight here, some battleships, but they're not in the greatest condition. Move them up here. And despite that not being effective, that submarine is almost dead anyway. We could bring him to New York Harbor and see if we can help him out, but I don't think things are going to go very well for that guy. All right, next turn, New York City. I've always wanted to visit. I actually lived most of my life in New York, so it's not all that interesting, but nonetheless. Okay, here we go, guys. Bringing in the new Messerschmitts, the jet engine Messerschmitts right now. Try and damage more of these enemy bombers, because they've actually done the most damage to our men. I mean, forget the enemy ships. The enemy bombers have really decimated our men. I'm also going to move this Wurfhammeren over here. kind of in the center, and start moving south eventually. Now, we have to take Richmond, Virginia. We've got to take Virginia Beach, South Carolina. I believe it's South Carolina. And that's about it. We also have to take Putney. Never heard of Putney before. And Chattanooga, Tennessee, as well as Fort Knox, Kentucky, and Huntington Beach is in California. A lot of different areas for us to try and conquer, of course, as you can imagine. I'm not even sure if we can bring in requisitions, but I sure hope that we can. If you want to upgrade my current game to Gold Edition, is there any way how I can gift my old license to my friend? I don't think so. I'm actually not 100% certain on that. My colleague will probably be on pretty soon to be able to answer those questions, and he'll be able to let you know if you can do that or not. Give me 1 second, guys. No problem, buddy. And once again, the sale is going on at the Steam store. It's really not going on not on the Steam store, on our store, not the Steam store. Check that. And that's going to be the main issue here. So let me actually ask my colleague. I'm asking him right now for Bolshanov, guys. And yes, we do still fix bugs. That's one thing we always do. On all of our games. I mean, that's something that we as a company are pretty good at. In fact, when Sanctus Reach first came out, we had a few bugs, and we basically within a day fixed just about everything. So that's one thing that this company cares about. If there are bugs in the game, we will fix them. Obviously, email our support team. Our marketing team, which is who I work for, may be able to help you, at least put you in the right direction, put you in touch with the right people. But if you do notice any bugs in the game, please let us know on the forums, or if you want to let us know in another venue, that's also just fine. But yes, that's something we're always looking for. We don't need bugs in our games. Who likes bugs, right? I don't think anybody does. Let's go ahead and take a look here, and I believe that's going to be it. We'll end the turn, turn it over to the Allies. Like I said, those Americans are absolutely going to waste our Navy, but at least our men are on the ground now. It's a bit too late for the Americans to stop our landing craft, although they did kill about 3 or 4 of them, which could have probably brought us some very valuable troops. And it is a shame to have to lose this Navy, but we don't really have much of a choice, my friends. Oh, it looks like the U-boat actually managed to evade. That's not going to happen for long. Here comes an American destroyer to finish up the job. At this point, they're kind of closing us in here. No escape. We did manage to evade from another destroyer. We're getting very lucky with the evasion skills there, but I don't think that's going to last for long. And they've still got a working Air Force, taking out some of our prototype planes. Right there, we actually both took a pretty nasty hit. And we've got some Wolverines moving in, defending D.C. Of course, who wants to lose the White House? So they're definitely defending D.C. as much as they can. We're going to attack with our heavy infantry. Boom! Absolutely got them down. So there's 2 parts to D.C. here. I'm going to take the southern part. Beautiful. That Hellcat is done. So we're going to move into D.C. here. So we've taken southern D.C., Just imagine being in southern D.C., guys. Unbelievable as the Germans. That would obviously change history. And we're going to move in here with our STKFZ. Open fire. And I believe we can just waltz right into the White House and say hello to the president. Hello, Mr. President. Although I'm pretty sure they would have moved him west, maybe to Huntington, maybe all the way to Fort Knox, which is, of course, a very heavily guarded area due to all the gold stored in this area. So I'm taking a look at the map here. Now, one thing we need to do, we need to take New York. And it's going to be pretty easy to do. We're just simply going to move out with our beautiful Vespa, and we're going to move forward with our Panzer IV-H. And there we go. New York is now ours. We maybe even be able to call in requisition units. Of course, if this was a real battle, it would be nearly impossible for the German Navy to make it this far, number one, unless the American Navy was completely blindsided. And at the same time, bringing in reinforcements would also be nearly impossible because at this point, especially knowing that we've just invaded, all of their ships would be scrambling around the Atlantic trying to kill any German ship they saw, or even something that might be a German ship would probably be a target. So I don't think it would happen that easily. nonetheless, we're going to keep moving to the west with some of our units and to the south with others. We need to kind of head in both directions here. Probably what we'll do here is we'll save this game pretty soon so that we can take out another very cool scenario. I wanted to kind of show you guys just the bevy of scenarios. These aren't even the campaigns. You know, the way the campaign works, if you have a campaign game and you start a campaign game, you know, with a certain unit, army, whatever, you can actually slowly build up your units. So for instance, if your unit gets 3-4 kills and he moves over to the next part of the campaign, he can win medals, which can increase its attack power or its defense power. He can even get heroes in the unit, and the heroes you actually can see. I believe it's tab. I could be mistaken here. We'll find out eventually. But essentially, there is a unit information panel which will show you those heroes. Just portraits of German soldiers we've taken with names. Some of them real, actual like tank aces, stuff like that. But overall, definitely worth it, guys. And once again, got that sale going. Pick up the game as soon as possible. Let's go ahead and open fire here. I'm still going to try to kill some American destroyers. You could tell I want to play as the Americans so badly. And one of the things we want to go for is Richmond. So I want to see if we have any planes that are serviceable here. This one actually looks pretty good, but I'd rather go ahead and take out this enemy P-47. Last thing we need are P-47s causing us major damage. And I also want to bring some reinforcements to this Jagdtiger. There we go. It's going to help us big time. And let's go ahead and get to our new airbase, and we can probably get some reinforcements for these men over here at the new airbase. So I'm also going to take out the B-29. So at this point, the Americans are losing that Air Force very, very quickly. That's good news for us. But once again, I want to try to get to one of these airfields. This one looks just fine. And start moving our SDKFZ down to help our men. So we'll be moving over here with the 43rd Wehrmacht Division. We're going to lose a lot of men in this attack, but I think it's going to be worth it just so that we can take Richmond, Virginia. I'm guessing the boys in Virginia are going to be fighting very hard. In fact, right there, that was a rugged defense, but our engineers just burned them out with flamethrowers. There's not many left, and I think Richmond, Virginia will be in our grasp very, very soon here. Let's take a look if we've got anything else we can use against the enemy. Not really. We can actually go ahead and attack this boat, even though I know the U-boat is going to get killed in the process. And sinking in a U-boat cannot be fun. There's nothing fun about it. Okay, let's see. Das ist gut. Take a look here at the chat. A new U.S. Corps scenario? Absolutely, absolutely. We'll play a little bit more of this one, and then we'll jump into the U.S. Corps, and we'll see what scenarios they have there. If any of you guys want me to take a look at some of the scenarios, I absolutely will do that, especially if it's going to help you make a decision on a purchase. So let me go ahead and get these boys to the north. I want to see if we can just take Little Richmond, and I'll be happy. Let's see what the Americans are going to do here. We're ending our turn. Oh, I knew that was going to happen. Looks like they're actually firing inland to hit our units. That's why we need to try and move inland as quickly as possible, while of course taking cities on the way. And no, the Graf Zeppelin is finally under attack. The famous German aircraft carrier is under attack. I don't think she's going to last much longer, but she had her heyday, of course. So, okay, let's keep moving. When I start heading west, get to Huntington. What state is Huntington in? Somebody tell me? Let's see if anybody knows. I'm sure you guys are going to rush to Wikipedia. Wikipedia doesn't count, so if somebody gives me a quick answer, I'll be much happier. And we're going to blow that radar up. Now, this is actually kind of not the greatest idea because we're basically wasting time by blowing up the radar, things like that. But, you know, we're already on land. It's not like we really need the radar to be destroyed, but might as well try and boost the spirit of our men with a nice, easy victory. And let's go ahead and take Huntington. Or Richmond, excuse me. Huntington is a little farther to the west. And we're going to take Richmond, Virginia. At the same time, I'm also going to go ahead and get some replacements for my men. Okay, guys, here we go. Moving to Huntington. Surprised the Americans. Oh, this is where things just got a lot harder. So look at that. Look at all those Hellcats. We've got a 12th M36 Jackson. This thing almost looks modern. Doesn't look like it's going to be very friendly to our invading tanks. So we're going to have to put up a hell of a tank battle if we want to make sure to destroy them. I'm going to go ahead and move over here to this area. We could have actually waltzed right in, but I didn't feel 100% secure. Let's see what else we can do. Keep on moving, boys. I'm going to bring some reinforcements or replacements to that unit and keep on moving in with our infantry. And let's get these guys out of New York City. We've already established a Polizei division within the city to make sure everybody is under German control. We don't have to worry about them right now. Let's bring in the Hinkel 162 and just waste that B-26 Marauder. Now, that is a B-26. Let's see. Poor SDKFC does not look like he's going to live much longer. Let's take a look here. Hello, Morta. How are you doing, my friend? Rugged Defense made me cry several times, says AMD Online. It makes us all cry, AMD. It makes us all cry. So yes, we are, we're actually I think about 40 minutes into the stream, maybe 45 minutes into the stream. So yes, we'll go ahead and take a look at another scenario, guys. I am going to save this as just East Coast Turn 6 in case if you guys like this video. Obviously we're going to be uploading it on the Slytherin channel eventually after the stream, probably tomorrow or the next day, so you guys will have a chance to watch again and sort of make your decision on which one of the games you want to get. So we will take a look at the scenarios for the Americans, although I must admit I am tempted to finish this. So here we go. Let's go ahead and get out. We're going to quit to the main menu, and I want to make sure I may need to redraw. Nope, actually that worked that time. Beautiful. Okay, here we go. So let's take a look at new game, and we're going to take a look here at Allied Corps. So this is, somebody was asking about Allied Corps and what the scenarios are for it. And I'm going to have to redraw this, unfortunately, so I'm sorry for the black screen, the temporary black screen. Let's go ahead and get this working. Okay, so once again, we've got a bunch of campaigns for the Americans to play, or the British. Operation Torch, Desert Rats, Husky 43, D-Day, and the Battle of Crete. And remember, these campaigns, these represent a year. So 1940, 1941, 1942, et cetera, et cetera. You could play through every single one of them, and each of them has a ton of scenarios. It's not like you're just playing one battle. Now, in terms of the scenarios for this, well, we've got the advance to the Elbe. The Western Allies are cutting through Germany, heading east to meet Soviets at the Elbe. We've got the Allied dispute. Now, this is actually when you get to fight against the Soviets. So just imagine if the East and West reached Berlin and suddenly decided, nope, we've got to have a fight. That one looks pretty cool, I must admit. We've also got, of course, famous D-Day. Fort Capuzzo is another really good one, but D-Day, of course, is extremely famous. The V rocket sites, trying to destroy the V2 rocket sites as quickly as possible. We've got the battles of Tunisia, the Toronto Raid, the Battle of Sicily, Operation Husky, for those of you that don't know. And we've even got Crusader here, and this is the attempt to relieve Tobruk. We've also got another one that I think is really fun, Berlin West. And Berlin West is, of course, just the attack of Berlin from the west. Battle of Gerba, a bunch of them here. So I think we're going to take a look here at another interesting scenario. I'll let you guys decide whether we play with the Soviets or the Americans here in this particular one. And we'll play Allied Dispute. So we could play as the Allies, and in this case, the Axis would technically be the Soviets, which doesn't make much sense, but we don't yet have an option for Comintern. So it's either, do we want to play as the West or the East? Well, let's find out. Whoever answers first, that's who we'll play as. So we're either going to play as the Soviets or the Americans/British in a hypothetical scenario of what would happen if we didn't agree to split Berlin or to split Europe, and after we defeated Nazi Germany, we go ahead and start attacking each other. Could it have happened? Absolutely. I think this is one of the more realistic possibilities of the war, and certainly a possibility after the war. So Salva is saying Allies, and so is Wavell. Okay, so we've got two people that want us to see us play as the USA against the communist attacker. And look at this. It's cold, it's freezing, and the Russians get the first move here. And of course, we've got to try to hold our portion of Germany and overrun their portion. This is definitely one of the toughest scenarios, but also one of the most entertaining. And another thing to keep in mind, guys, that should really make you want to get this, is the fact that you can play PBEM multiplayer with your friends. So if any of your friends ever have discussions about who would win in a hypothetical scenario with the Germans against the Americans and British, or vice versa, this is a great scenario to play with your friend. Do some multiplayer on it and see how it actually goes, because I'm willing to bet it's going to be an interesting fight no matter what happens. Okay, it's our turn. Now, I've already seen an AT gun, or I saw an AT gun right there, the 17-pounder, and I'm going to open fire here at the Su-85. Should be able to pop him open like a tin can, and sure enough, we did. Beautiful stuff there. He's going to move back, but I'm not going to stop chasing him. I'm going to bring in the Challenger A30, and I'm not actually familiar with this piece of machinery, but as long as it can kill that tank, I'm happy. So there we go. The Su-85 is gone. We still have some IS-1s, and I think we're going to bring the Calliope here. Open fire. Going to open fire with the M4A3. I always get the name of this tank mistaken with the M1A1 rifle, which is not an acceptable mistake. Okay, here we go with another M4A3 opening fire. We could totally destroy that BA-64 and maybe even open fire on the Su-76 here and completely annihilate it. Beautiful, guys. So as you can see right here, this is Frankfurt. We're still got to go east a little bit more to get to Berlin. I believe that the Soviets are in control of Berlin here, or actually Berlin may not be part of this fight. This could merely be, west of Berlin, essentially near Frankfurt. The Russians have apparently gotten a little farther than anticipated, and they want their territory. So let's fire on the IS-1, the Sherman Firefly, probably one of my favorite tanks of all time. And we just destroyed an IS-1 completely, just flattened the poor thing. Beautiful. Check your Windows, Agrippa. Let's see. Wow, sorry guys. Again, we keep losing the feed here. So let me try again. And yes, if anybody has an issue with the Windows, let me know, because we are probably going to have to check every now and again, make sure the windows are working correctly, since we aren't able to get a game capture. We're only able to get a screen capture, which is a little frustrating. There we go, guys. Hope that's better. And let's keep trying to take out the enemy. Opening fire on a T-34 Sherman Firefly against a T-34, and we actually killed more of the T-34, which sort of makes sense. I mean, the Sherman Firefly had a vicious barrel, and certainly could have probably killed a T-34. I guess we'll never find out. I'm sure certain people know, but we unfortunately won't. And let's see. I guess we'll move up with the Chevy. And I wonder if this Chevy is actually made by Chevrolet, or if that's just an interesting name. We don't need a corporate name drop on this particular stream, unless it's a Slytherin corporate name drop. Talking about our awesome sale going on right now. Like I said, 75% off on the main Slytherin website. You're not going to find this on Steam. You've actually got to go to the Slytherin website and check it out. I'd also highly recommend, if you guys are not already subscribed to the Slytherin channel on YouTube, you should. You should also do the same for the Matrix channel, but the Slytherin one is an easy one you can go ahead and do right now. Hello, Kucha223. Good to see you, man. Once again, I was telling people we're trying to go for an hour-and-a-half stream. We're already almost an hour into this stream, so I might just go for an hour and 15 minutes, something like that. But I am going to try my best, and we're basically just trying a bunch of different scenarios here in the game. See how far we can get, of course. See if we can do any damage to the enemy. So I'm going to bring in the Meteor MK3s to start taking out these 100mm guns. The last thing we need are 100mm guns threatening our troops. We just don't need that, so we've got to try to fight back. But there are a lot of Soviet troops on this mission, and I mean a lot. Let's go ahead and see if we could take out this Soviet fighter, the Lavochkin LA-5. Don't think it should be too difficult, especially since we're using a P-47. Beautiful little plane, and we can bring in a Tempest and probably finish her off. She's going to go crashing into West Germany. So basically, this is a what-if scenario for those of you that are new here about what would happen if the Germans, or if the Americans and the Soviets decided, yeah, you know what, we don't really want to split Germany. Let's go to war and decide who gets all of Europe. Because obviously, if we kept fighting in Germany, chances are that this fight would extend to the rest of Europe. It wouldn't be a Cold War anymore. It would be a very, very hot war with a lot of casualties on both sides, I'm sure. I wonder who you guys think would win that war. Be an interesting question, actually. So there we go. We're actually moving our Rangers over to take on the Soviet regulars. Only the Rangers would have enough stomach to move across a frozen river and take on some Soviet regulars. Obviously, a lot of people are going to be disappointed with that attack. Well, a lot of enemies in this case. And it looks like we've got some more units over here. I'm going to go ahead and open fire on this Soviet Union. I don't want to hit the mines, so I am going to get on the river, which is going to make our attack just a little less effective. And I'm going to take this very modern-looking M36 Jackson, and I'm going to try to kill that BA-64, that armored car, and that was perfect. We just destroyed an entire battalion of armored cars. Doesn't get much better than that. Boom. Like it, baby. All right, let's try to move around here. Flank the enemy from the south, and already some more enemy T-34s on the way. I'd like to do anything we can to damage those things, so let's bring in the Invader, the A-26 Invader, and boom. Actually didn't do as much damage as I expected. I was hoping for a lot more damage than that. Let's go ahead and hit the KV-1C. So even though we're just basically lightly wrapping on the sides of these massive behemoths, massive Russian behemoths, I still think it's worth it to weaken their defenses as much as possible. Now, of course, we could purchase some units. Probably not a bad idea to get some British Paras, maybe some Crocodiles, some more Sherman Fireflies. I think the Sherman Fireflies are going to be my main concern. And obviously, some artillery probably wouldn't hurt. So let's try and get some 7.2-inch artillery. In fact, the Americans may have better arty than the Brits. I hope my British friends on the stream don't get upset with that. I could be wrong, believe me. Yes, so Kutya, thanks for the question. As Party Commissar says, this is actually Allied Corps. Yes, you're absolutely right. Party Commissar, this is Allied Corps, and this is one of the many scenarios we have in Allied Corps. So kind of what we were doing today is we have a massive sale going on the website, 75% off all of the Panzer Corps stuff. So if you ever wanted to buy Panzer Corps, now is the time to do it. And I'm going through some of the cooler scenarios. We were just looking at one of the scenarios for Panzer Corps, which is the German invasion of the United States. Of course, it never happened, alternative history scenario, but nonetheless, very interesting to think about. And now we're looking at the, of course, I guess the potential war that could have happened between the Allies and the Soviets once both reached Berlin. In this case, of course, though, we're defending Frankfurt, not Berlin. Berlin is to the east a bit, and actually they've got Rzepin, they've got quite a few towns here, but they definitely want to try to push through and take Frankfurt from us. And Lebes as well. Anybody from Lebes? Stubici. So a lot of very interesting areas here. Excuse me, guys. So I'm actually going to use some of our Rangers, move out of this town, and just look at the amount of Soviets on the way here. So we might take a look at another scenario here pretty soon. We are getting close to the end of the stream. Although, like I said, we started the stream early for a reason. Why they attack Russian cities. I think that this is set sort of in the east on the border of Russia and Germany, where the Americans may have taken just a little bit more land, if that makes sense. Let's go ahead. British Rage, says Party Commissar, indeed. 200 kilometers from Frankfurt, so Steinkuhl, the German name, I'm guessing he knows a lot more than we do here about the locations. He can tell us whether this is east of Berlin or west of Berlin. I'm thinking this is east of Berlin, but I could be wrong. So this could be west of Berlin. But it is true that these names sound very Russian. Bolekov, or Polish, actually. Bolekov, well, that doesn't have a name, but Gmina Torzhim, these are definitely not German cities by any stretch of the imagination. Lubin, yeah, this is definitely Poland for sure. I'm almost certain of that. Could be mistaken. And, okay, guys, so we're going to take a look at another cool scenario. So far, I hope you guys have been enjoying these these scenarios. So we've had 2 so far. Obviously, now let's move on to another one. So once again, I'm going to have to ask your patience because, as you guys know, we're going to have to redraw the display screen. But this time, maybe we'll look at one of the Soviet Corps scenarios. We just looked at an Allied Corps scenario. We just looked at a Panzer Corps scenario. There's also Africa Corps, which we haven't looked at yet. But let's go look at the Soviet Corps scenarios and see what you guys think. So I'm headed back to the main menu. Give me a moment while I choose a new scenario here. And I'm actually going to go ahead and redraw this for you guys. Okay, here we go, guys. I'm probably going to have to redraw once we're in the battle as well. But we'll go for Soviet Corps this time. We also got these classified missions. Basically, it's more campaigns, etc. Operation Sea Lion is obviously an awesome one. Just imagine trying to play Operation Sea Lion and actually succeeding as the Germans. It's going to be pretty hard. It's actually hard for both sides. So let's go to Soviet Corps. And let's take a look at the scenarios here. So we've got, of course, the Battle of Berlin, the Soviet attack on Berlin. I mean, it's pretty hard to get much better than that. We've got, of course, Khalkhin Gol. And this is one of the few scenarios in-game that involves the Japanese army. So being able to fight the Japanese is, to me, a pretty awesome situation. Once again, here in the Battle of Western Europe, very similar to the one we just played, which is essentially us, or in this case, us defending the Soviet Union against the Allies and the Americans. And one of my friend's favorites is the Winter War. And this, of course, is the Soviets' attack on Finland. And what a war it was. This would, of course, be before World War II, just slightly. And we've got Manchuria, which would be the Soviet invasion of Japanese-held Manchuria. Another very, very serious fight here. And, of course, just Poland, in this case, attacking Poland from the east and trying to take more land than the Germans do. That's kind of the idea of this scenario, however you want to look at it. And, of course, custom. Sure, there's some custom maps and Operation Silver Fox. Soviet forces are protecting cargo delivered by Arctic Convoy. This is less of a battle. Well, it's obviously a battle, but it's a battle with a serious objective, which is to get a convoy or a group of trucks to a certain location before you're completely annihilated by the Finnish fighters. So what do you guys want to take a look at? Finished Winter War yesterday, says QChat23. Triumph in the last turn. Well done. It looks like Party Commissar is already asking for Winter War. I can't blame you guys. So we're going to take a look at Winter War. But there are a lot of great fights here. Obviously, the Battle of Moscow. But let's go for Winter War. Why not? So I am going to have to redraw it once again. I'm sorry, guys. We will play as the glorious, in this case, I guess, the Soviets. Okay, so give me 1 second while I redraw this. And again, that's the only negative aspect of having a Panzer Corps stream. Otherwise, I would stream this every single day on the channel. We're going to try to stream probably every single day of the week this week. So I hope you guys are ready for some fun stuff. And obviously, if you guys have any suggestions for what you want to see, put it in the comments down below. What Slytherin or Matrix games you'd like to see. We'll do our best to stream them. And we'll see what happens. Obviously, also go to the website, the Slytherin YouTube channel, as well as the Matrix Games YouTube channel, and give us some suggestions. So already we're dealing with a massive amount of Finnish bunkers. It's already looking pretty vicious, and we're going to try to attack with our engineers. We'll try to soften them up with some good old-fashioned Soviet artillery too, but I fear this is going to be a little too hard to complete with a victory unless I try really, really hard. Let's go ahead and keep attacking. We've got these wonderful Soviet engineers. They can probably deal with those bunkers, but we just hit a minefield. Oh my goodness. The Finns are not ones to give up their land, I'll tell you that much. Let's keep attacking. And another ambush. So you got to be very careful in this scenario. You guys are already learning from me. If you end up getting Soviet Corps and you want to play this scenario, be careful because the Finns are everywhere. You start attacking, you think that there's probably not going to be any Finns nearby, and all of a sudden you just get smashed. And right now we're actually trying to take Taipale, and I believe I'm saying that correctly. I actually have some Finnish friends, and I've learned some Finnish words, probably the most complex language I've ever spoken, but I believe it is Taipale would be the way to say that particular city, town, whatever you want to call it. But hopefully we have some Finns here that could correct me if I'm wrong. All right. Got some bombers too. But I'm guessing with the weather, and indeed, if you look up here on the far right corner, guys, you can see that there is snow and everything is frozen. And the forecast is cloudy and frozen. That's going to mean that our planes can't see a damn thing and consequently can't do anything to help our troops at all. They are pretty much up shit's creek, to use a somewhat improper phrase. Or in this case, up a frozen creek, however you want to look at it. Okay, let's see if we can fire. So I'm going to go ahead and open fire here on the bunker. Pretty nice shooting, but we could do better. Let's also go ahead and grab the BT-7, and I'm guessing they're going to have men here in the trenches. Sure enough, they do. We'll open fire on these trenches. They're 37 Soviets with a rugged defense. Oh, that's a lot of damage there. Not liking that one bit. Also going to go ahead and destroy these mines. Now, if you guys were wondering why it's so easy to destroy those mines, this is an engineer unit. If you've got an engineer unit, it's fairly easy to clear a minefield, and especially against the Finns, you're going to want to clear minefield because they're going to be all over the damn place. Now, if we get to Vilpuri, that would be amazing. I'm not sure if that's going to be possible. How does Winter War differ in order of battle compared to Panzer Corps? Wave 2, Soviet Corps' Winter Scenario, good, but very difficult. Took me 3 attempts to get a decent victory. I like what Wavell is saying. I mean, they're both very, very tough fights, no matter how you play. But it's interesting. In Panzer Corps, you could play as either the Finns or the Soviets. And there we go. Actually, thank you, Party Commissar. He just wrote that. So it kind of allows you to play as either side. I could play as the Finns right now and try to stop the Soviet invasion, although I've tried, and actually a lot harder than you think. The thing that's working for you the most are the massive amounts of bunkers and the massive amounts of trenches, which give you a defensive bonus if you're playing as the Finns. And if you guys see these little ridges here, these are all trench fortifications. So obviously if you can hold those trench fortifications, you're likely looking at a pretty good victory. So we've taken a look, guys, so far at 3 different scenarios. Right now, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys an Africa Corps scenario, and we'll take a look at that. I want everybody to get some views, about the game. I want you guys to see what you're buying, so that you can make an informed decision, essentially, about which of these you're going to pick up if you are going to go to our sale. So let me go ahead and once again, I do apologize. We're going to have to we're definitely going to have to redraw that. And again, I'm trying to draw really fast for you guys. Okay, there we go. So let's take a look at Africa Corps, another one of the possible games you can get, and take a look at the scenarios here for Africa Corps. So one of the ones that I think is really interesting is British India. This is what would happen if the Germans invaded British India, British-held India. We've also got Iraq. And effort to break communication lines could mean a result in life and death. We've got Persia. Cutting the vital corridor for land lease convoys will make an end to mutual assistance of allied powers. We've got Palestine, of course, storming assault to protect pipeline stations from destruction. And on the road to India, another scenario where the Germans are attacking India, as well as Res al-Madar. After recapturing most of Libya from the British, attack on Tobruk perimeter begins. A lot of really intense fighting here. I'm going to take a look at On the Road to India purely out of curiosity and also to show you guys. I also like the text here. New breed of warriors following the footsteps of Alexander the Great. So in this one, we're going to play as the Axis and see what we have to look forward to. And whoa, this looks awesome. I'm going to open up a nice little window for you guys. So let's get that screen capture going. That is not looking right, is it, guys? That is definitely not looking right. Let's try again. Let's try again. There we go. So this is looking really awesome. Obviously, we're playing as the Germans over here, and we can just take a look all of Western India. I love the desert setting. It's one of the reasons that Africa Corps is probably one of my favorite of the DLC. Just because of the desert setting, it really just adds, to me, it's beautiful. It really is. Some people think deserts are desolate and dreary and boring. To me, no. To me, deserts are absolutely majestic. And if you can make it across this desert and conquer Western India as the Germans, you can probably consider yourself a Panzer Corps master. Of course, that's if you're playing on a setting above Colonel. If you're just going to play on easy settings, it's still going to be hard, but not impossible. In this case, this looks pretty impossible to me. The British have a lot of infantry units here. Obviously British units stationed in India are probably going to be pretty brave and pretty tough. Let's go ahead and try to loosen them up with some artillery. Looks like maybe we have some Italian divisions, if I'm not mistaken, back here. Yes, we do. So we do have some Italian divisions to assist us. The Saharina. And, of course, 100 and something centimeter, looks like a Nebelwerfer of sorts. A lot of British commandos here, too. Let's open fire. Wow, that thing's going to do a lot of damage. 4 damage on infantry. So this thing is extremely useful. The 18th, 30 centimeter Nebelwerfer 43. That is a nasty weapon. I would not want to be on the receiving end of that guy at all. Okay, let's see. Keep moving forward. So once again, guys, we are getting towards the end of this stream here. Too much sand and heat for me. And FS Morta says, I love the Fids. Very cool. We're getting very close to the end of this stream. I do want to thank everybody for showing up. And once again, I want to let you guys know that there is that opportunity to go to the Slytherin website and obviously pick up some very, very cheap versions of Panzer Corps here. 75% off. I mean, this is a steal. It really is. You're probably not going to see anything like this on Steam anytime soon. So I highly suggest you guys go to the Slytherin website as soon as possible. For those of you that don't know what it is, I'll put a link right here. Make sure that you guys take a look. No problem. I hope you guys enjoyed. We tried to make it an hour and a half, and we probably could have. We actually probably are going to go ahead and do another 7 or 8 minutes. Obviously, if you guys have any games in mind from our catalog that you want to see, like I said, let us know. The only way we find out what you guys actually want to see on these streams is for you guys to give us some feedback, especially if you can all agree on it. So if somebody says one thing and another person says, yeah, I agree, we're more than likely going to have that streaming next time we play. Now, of course, this time we stream Panzer Corps for several reasons. 1 being I love this game. 2 being it's fun to watch. And 3 being we've got a sale going on. So definitely something that, one of the reasons why we streamed. By the way, making it past these mountains is going to be tough just in itself. There's a lot of mountain passes that are heavily closed off. And to make it through, we've got to throw our men at these guys like a meat grinder. Oh boy, keep firing, men. All right, they're down to 3. Come on, guys. And obviously, we've got some more Bersaglieri, a lot of Italian troops here that could assist us in this attack. Some of you may think the Italian troops aren't too strong, and you'd be right. No, I'm just kidding. They're actually pretty good. I wouldn't actually give any respect to the Italian tanks. The Italian infantry, however, are pretty good fighters, actually. But the Italian tanks, yeah, it could do without them. Although I've never used the P-26. Obviously, using it against infantry wouldn't be wise. But, you know, otherwise, it might actually be a pretty decent vehicle. I don't have much experience with it personally. Let's take a look here. I think that's pretty much it. Just did some damage to the British commando units, and we'll end the turn it over to the Brits, see if they're going to bring in any reinforcements to make our lives more difficult. I wouldn't be surprised if they did. Oh no, they're destroying our beautiful Nebelwerfers, which right now may be my new favorite artillery unit in the game. That specific kind of Nebelwerfer, of course. So we've got to capture and hold at least 5 objectives to win this scenario. One of them is Kerman, another one is Forg, another one is Taranshir, I'm sure I'm mangling these names, Rudbar, and of course Kuadar. And Karachi, Pakistan, I actually know about. So this is definitely a tough scenario. I want to see, though, how this Italian tank copes. Actually, pretty good. Pretty good, at least against an artillery piece. I'm not sure how they would face, or how they would fare, excuse me, against a British tank. Probably not very well. It would be fun to watch, though, to see how they did. Okay, let's see. Tremendous amount of damage from that 15 centimeter gun there. Let's try to get behind the enemy and take out that artillery. And I'm going to have my Italian unit here, the Sahariana. And I'm guessing since it's called the Sahariana, it's meant to travel across the Sahara. Probably a pretty good desert armored vehicle here. Again, I've never heard of it myself, but that's one thing I love about Panzer Corps. There's so much variety here. There are so many units that I personally learn something new every time I play about the different units in the war, or the different prototypes that were being built that could have been a part of the war, that maybe went on to become more modern vehicles, that we still see today. Let's go ahead and open fire. I love my Panzer IVs. I don't want to lose them. Oh, party comes. I am sorry to hear that, man. Some of the Gary Grigsby games says Kulia. Yes, we could definitely try War in the East. I'm not sure how many people would be into it. We could also try War in the West. I'm not nearly as into War in the West as I am in War in the East. Not to say I don't like it. It's just I actually haven't practiced with War in the West. And Party Commissar, I am sorry to hear that. Some good news. I hope this is good news. This sale is going on until Wednesday. So if you can even get a little bit together to purchase something then, this is the time to do it, my friend. So it is definitely going on until Wednesday. And I'm sure we'll do the sale again, but I will admit to you guys that this is one of our formidable sales. So also let your friends know about it, especially if you've got friends that you want to get into Panzer Corps, but maybe they're not too into it, or they're not huge strategy gamers. This is a bargain. They might as well pick it up. And, of course, the gold edition is going to be way down from $71, a significant amount. Somebody do the math for me, because I'm terrible at math, which probably explains why I'm not necessarily so good in a lot of the Gary Grigsby games. Actually, I love Gary Grigsby's stuff, and I've actually won quite a few of the missions in War in the East. But War in the West might be a consideration, and maybe we'll even do War in the East tomorrow or the next day. It really depends how we decide to do these streams. Obviously, I don't want to bore you guys with constant streams, but at the same time, we really like doing these streams because we like getting your opinion, guys. We like showing you the deals we have, and we like offering deals to our customers as much as we can. And again, somebody mentioned earlier something about bugs. Yes, absolutely. If you have any bugs with any of your games, specifically your Panzer Corps series, get right to us. I mean, this is one of our top-selling titles. It continued to be our top-selling titles for over 10 years. There's a reason for that. And so, yes, if somebody finds a bug, of course, we're going to fix it. Although I must say, it's going to be pretty hard for you to find a bug in Panzer Corps. This game has been thoroughly tested many, many times. And by the way, I just realized we've got some air power here, which we might be able to use. Some HE-177s. Move them to the north here to assist us on the battlefield. Let's go ahead and keep going. Come on, boys. Oh boy, I already see some enemy tanks. We've got a Cromwell here. And sorry, guys, I'm starting to lose my voice. Hour and 45 minutes, or hour and 30 minutes of streaming will do that to you. We haven't actually made it to an hour and 30. We made it to about an hour 15 so far. So let's see. Shushtoffel is saying, I don't know if it's worth to buy War in the East or West. Would be cool to have a demo version for this game. I'm not sure if there are demo versions for the game. I could be wrong. I think there might be. Never invested time in it, says Kutia. It's actually surprisingly easy to learn. I find, for instance, the Command series very hard to master, but War in the East I picked up pretty quickly. War in the West would be interesting. Maybe one of the short scenarios. I have this, but I've struggled to get to grips with it. I'm actually kind of with you there, Wavell. It's a wonderful game. It's actually also one of our top sellers, War in the West specifically. And for me, it's not as simple or straightforward as War in the East. It was released earlier, so that could be a basic explanation. But I definitely might pick it up and try it. And obviously, we like to hear if you guys like games like Starhammer. That was the stream we did last week, and we actually got quite a few people interested, so maybe we could start doing some more sci-fi stuff. We do have a lot of sci-fi titles. I mean, don't forget, we've got an entire catalog full of games. So if we want to move away from some of the more mainstream games, and I say mainstream with a smile on my face, because obviously you guys know that we are a very niche company. We do games that nobody else does, and so we wouldn't be what I would consider mainstream. But we do have some ultra non-mainstream games that we could take a look at and just kind of see what you guys think. Play around with them and just have some fun. I guess that's the best way to put it. Anyway, guys, once again, thank you so much for showing up. Like I said, I tried to make it to an hour and a half. We still got an hour and 16 minutes. Sadly, Gravitating Tactics is not one of our games, Party Commissar. As far as I know, it never will be. I'm not sure. I could be wrong. That's really up to the higher-ups in corporate, so that's not an option. But we would love to play something similar. I mean, we do have quite a number of games, tank-based games, etc., that we could play. But of course, we mostly do, very niche strategy. Maybe we could do some Scourge of War Waterloo. I must say, I've got a Scourge of War Waterloo itch. A lot of you guys are fans of Afghanistan 11. That's probably our most successful stream, was 103 people watching Afghanistan 11. So maybe we'll bring back some of that. But ultimately, it's up to you guys. We could even go back to Vietnam 65 for those of you that are unsure about Afghanistan 11 and maybe want to try its predecessor first. I mean, that's certainly something we could take a look at and possibly do. But thank you so much, guys, for showing up. I really do hope you guys had a lot of fun. And yes, I'm not surprised at all. Very similar style for sure. I hope you guys had a lot of fun. Thank you for stopping by. Thanks for showing up early, too, because this was definitely an early stream, without a shadow of a doubt. And I hope it was enjoyable. And once again, if you just take a look there, all you got to do is click that link, 75% off all of our Panzer Corps titles. It's absolutely time for you guys to pick these games up. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. You guys are awesome, and take care, and have a great day. Thank you, guys.